too. I'm at the DC because like I'm working on it.
Oh, really?
June 17th, La Jolla, California.
I used to know some of the old aquarium.
Oh, really? I used to know Sam Hiffen.
All those people.
Yeah,
there.
they're
Well, my
wonderful.
partner on my walking book, who is Barbara Moore, taught there for ages and ages. In fact, we met walking along the beach, tide-pooling, many long years ago.
Now I remember the graduate student, we used to have something to look at over there.
I like the old aquarium. This one is.
I thought I did a couple of spectacular parties.
Oh, have you?
We had a conference in astrobiology, so we had a conference looking for relevant space. One of the parties was the first.
Really great. I'm kind of looking for life here.
Intelligent life, at least. Yes, beat me up.
Are there, I was going to ask this anyway, but are the people who are involved in this team all scientists and artists, or are any of them artists and not scientists?
Yes, I mean, Joe and Jonathan are not scientists. I mean, really,
They're musicians and Jonathan.
yeah, really, we're the only two that are,
Combine both disciplines.
yes.
So far, anyway.
Well, and it depends on what levels we're talking about too, because well, that's really what the whole crux of this thing. What is?
I do some music theater.
Oh, good.
Actually, I wrote some radio for radio theater.
Oh, so you're the one who did the sci-fi?
Yeah, that's how this thing started originally. Having this meeting to determine things we might do. And they talked to me, just the last year, so you know, that's what radio show things to do. And I submit that as a possibility. And we formed a group to do it. Basically, cows and two other friends. And afterwards, we could discuss it, and we thought it's probably in beef what to do. So we started working on cows, and the cows that just had a place in New York. And his idea was to become very free. So we decided to go with cows and stuff. But we all put our own in too, so we have a time to submit.
This is for some sort of skit?
Well, what we want to do in cows in more detail is you'll have kind of not so like a review, but sort of an anthology, a number of short tableaus. You know, it could be dramatic skits, it could be entertaining. And then we try to categorize them according to the requirements of the Kaz is I'm talking about the scientist, unfortunately. And Kaz is an engineer.
See, this is one of the things that I have some questions about, because that is not where I come from, although I'm married to an engineer.
Well, Kaz has his background's actually held.
Well, I looked a little bit at his website.
Not mine, no, it's hard to characterize.
Did you know, when you said radio play, I thought of, what's his name, Scott Paulson?
Yeah.
I just went to see that last year, one of his little things that he did at the library.
Yeah, I could never get away to see those. I know it's like that. It's kind of really disturbing.
Yeah, but he does a lot of sound
Oh,
stuff.
yeah. In fact, we'd love to get it back when we got the radio people started.
Well, because
I was
that's what I thought
going
of.
to suggest it just then, but actually we had somebody else who company.
Well, this is what he
But he's
does.
really good. I mean, he'd be somebody.
And he's quite the character.
Oh, yes. I'd love to recruit, get into this thing, but I just don't know him.
You know, UCSD is the least collegial place that I ever saw, but that's another story. All you've got to do is email him
Oh, I know.
or phone him.
Yeah, I probably even have his phone number.
I mean, he'd probably be pretty open to talking.
I think the thing is, people usually get so much pressure. Fortunately, the people I hang out with are all emeritus, so it doesn't really matter. Usually
Oh, because these days it's really And I'm hearing that the virus is spreading to the state as well.
Well, the home state's always been under control.
Well, but now it's,
And what they're doing, I think, is doing business, they're cutting their enrollment of me in California. You don't have to pay full tuition. You start taking more out of state.
oh, I thought you were going to say more Asian. Who can
I
afford it?
remember,
Who can afford
I heard
it?
my mother once, she used to say that, she was waiting for the car, this is like a Ho Chi Minh Trail. And I was giving a talk in Hong Kong in '96. One of the Chinese people said, John, how's it feel being a minority? I said, it feels just like I'm back
Just
at
like home, just like
the
home.
University of California campus. Although, I remember so many people visited.
The 70s, was a big old Asian there.
No, but we had an Asian American training registered. She tried to get a fellowship. And the university said, I'm sorry, Asian women are not a minority liberal.
Oh, even in the 70s.
She was mad as hell.
That's really interesting, because I didn't think that that was really that far back. Oh, well.
That's funny.
Well, you know, women, men are minorities. What's it?
Such a,
UCSD, I think, is better than 40%. Yeah, there's more women in college than men. There's more men in
There's too
prison.
many good.
And there's more men in prison than there are in college.
I'm sure there's something to be said about all that.
So, you know, this might give you some ideas. So,
Ta-da!
Yeah, so
yes.
you guys already kind of,
Well, we
that
just
sounded like you guys had already said what, you know, what
Well,
your
we were
backgrounds are.
interacting while you were buying
Yeah.
clothes.
You're from Richmond. Yeah, I was gonna say your accent sounds East Coast.
Yeah, I got it even more so when I came here, because when I first came here, there were no reporters. And people would say to me when I spoke, and I spoke fast with them, and they would say to me when I spoke, and they would say, "The country."
Oh, I lived in Jersey for a while, and people thought I was British because of the purity.
Oh, because you don't speak like that.
Because of the purity of my Midwestern slang English.
Well, I used to live in South Philly. You know?
South Philly. I haven't
I used
been
to
there
hang
in a
out with the
long
Dipperelli brothers. You know Big Dipper, Little Dipper?
No, but I know there's
Oh, you'll look
kinds
up.
of guys, because they had a boat in
I'm
Jersey.
telling you, you know, Philadelphia's in the Bible. Check it out. It's in Revelation. You know it's going to be a great fucking place if it's in the Bible, right?
It's in Revelation.
Philadelphia, you bet.
You mean loving?
Loving,
Loving,
loving your brother.
loving.
Your brother, as opposed to your sister or something else.
So you do accents? Because I was going to ask, like, what the special talents of the group.
Last time I was in Lonnie, sometimes I was dealing with volleyball as an key for the coffee. Oh, I just take me a quick in a bit and then give me a tip so people want to get back to me dig.
Of
course,
we're not recording
I'm
that. We're not
originally-
recording that, are we?
I'm originally from Oklahoma, you know.
Where are you originally?
I'm originally from Tulsa, from West Tulsa, which is a neighborhood full of guns and Jesus. That's where I grew up.
Just like Philly.
It's like Philly. It's got the
Except for the Jesus.
You and Monzo ought to get together.
What?
He's from Philadelphia.
Oh, I know. Well, we've talked about Philly. I love Philly. I used to live in Philly. I did live in Philly, so I know.
That's really interesting.
Well,
Okay, so we got some, you are from,
Born in Minnesota, grew up in Nebraska, school in Massachusetts, spent 20 years in Texas. The rest of I'm in California, except for a couple of years in Seattle.
I grew up in Oklahoma. Went to school in Wichita.
Wichita.
Wichita State.
School in Wichita.
That's right. I went to art school in Wichita. Got
Art school.
I had a BFA in sculpture. And then I got a job as a file clerk in an engineering department in Wichita at an aircraft plant. And taught myself engineering. And I make a living as a consultant and travel all over the world designing airplanes, tooling for airplanes. And the machines that build airplanes. And that's what I've been doing since age 5. That's what I do for a living. So I don't have, I'm the only one that doesn't have an engineering degree. I have a BFA in sculpture.
Sculpture, which is really interesting.
So I work as an
And you
engineer.
go to meditation retreats in Korea, which I'm sure not too many
Yes.
people want to do it.
No, that's true too. Yeah. Yeah. So you went to my website then?
No, I'm sorry.
No.
I have the intuition of the artist.
Yeah, that's great.
And I have no skills of the scientist. So I was thinking
You
that this
think
whole
you
thing
don't.
was, well, yeah, I mean, I roughly speaking, but I was thinking that what this was about was really having a coming together of people who were scientists and artists. But then I looked up what I thought the model for this in this area was, which was the Salk Institute, which I thought was supposed to be the Agora originally, except Bernowski died. But Bernowski was also a scientist, which I had totally forgotten because I only knew on television and his books and his novels. So he himself was also an artist and a scientist.
Yeah.
But Salk still tries to do some of that, at least
I just did a piece recently, although I didn't meet her because she didn't come out for the show, on his widow.
Read it.
Yeah, that's
know
That's
Rita.
Bernowski's.
Yeah.
Well, she's gone now.
Yeah, she's gone.
But I'm talking about Salk's, the one who doesn't live here anymore. What is it? Francois. Why can't I, the one who was with Picasso before Salk.
I'm blocking it too, because
I can't believe it. Well, of course I can.
Rita's funny because when I met Rita was she was bored with me. And it was really kind of funny because I haven't had anybody that was moving forward with me in probably 30 years. But the fact that she's older, I guess she found
You
me
don't like
attractive.
older women?
No, I didn't say that.
watch out for cougars.
Well, but the last thing that I did here for several years, which was a show that I put
Chase
together,
Young Men?
was called Tales from the Far Side of 50. And what I did was I put together a group of women, including my mother, who is now 94. When we started out was in year 87, his age. I put together a group of women, and we did a show based on what they wrote in a couple of workshops. And we did it all over San Diego County, and then I got a grant to do it again, a different version of it. And we sold out every show, and we never had fewer than 300 people, and the last one was 800. We filled houses. We got no real publicity, so it was all word of mouth. We were like the Stones. We would come out and people would start to hear. And we had a fire. But, yeah. So that's what's called Tales from the Far Side. And some of it was the far side of 50 because some of them went up to 90. And we sang also. So I was trying to do music. Does anybody play in your group?
Oh,
On
yeah.
the show,
And I guess Arthur.
See, that would be really.
and
Okay.
Jonathan, although Jonathan does most of the interpretation. Joe was really very well trained.
Well, I was thinking of, I don't know. See, I want you to tell me about it, and would like you to include is what the goals of your team are and who you think your audience is for whatever kind of performance you're thinking
That's
of.
a great question. Yeah. That's the scary part of this too, because we all live in our worlds where we don't know what we don't know. What I mean by that is that we all see the world in our own head, and it's like it's very difficult to put our mind in someone else's head that we don't have their experiences.
And that is exactly what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
That moment, and that's what I thought this is kind of about.
Well, I think Patricia's idea was originally is to put together scientists, artists, and collaborate on a project that has a blend of both the sciences and the arts. This has been interesting question for me for many years is the difference between particularly mathematics and art. And when I was studying art, I read a book called The Dancing Woolly Masters.
Probably not.
Yeah,
What's it, Gary Zukav?
exactly, Gary Zukav. And when I read that,
There's also a book called Capra.
that's yeah, the towel physics. What's that?
It's a bullshit. It's a
Well, yes, what's interesting about it is, I'll tell you how interesting it was to me. I mean, I was finishing my BFA in sculpture and it turned my life around. I said, oh my God, I've got to study physics. And I flunked algebra in high school.
See, now, I want you to I want to interrupt you right here. Do you mind if I interrupt? Okay. This kind of talk is what I'm most interested in. Now, I listened to exactly a minute and a half. In fact, that's how I recognized you, because Patricia sent me the video of discussion at her house. Where I
great,
said,
yeah.
all these guys that she's the secretary. It's interesting. But I recognized you. And weren't you the one who said you made a distinction between craft and
Design.
Design, yeah. I think I think you were.
Something certainly came up.
Yeah, that's part of that.
I watched about a minute and a half, but I got that thing and I said, oh, now that's an interesting point.
Yeah, that's part of this system.
So basically, what you were just talking is incredibly interesting to me because it's personal and it's how I became who I am, how I got to my PhD, how I got to be.
Those are
this
fascinating stories because everybody's got them.
person. And other people can relate to them.
Yeah, and it's
So now go back and how the Woolly Masters changed my life.
I read that book and I was like, you know, I flunked algebra in high school. I mean, I was an artist. My attitude was, what's this shit? I'll never use it, man. You know, I have no interest in this. And then all of a sudden I read this book that tells me that this is bullshit.
What was the other one?
It's the same. They're the same. Yeah. Yeah, they're both the same. I think Zukov's is a little bit more accessible than the Tao of Physics. Yeah. Yeah, it was geared for, it was perfect for an artist like myself because it presented the science in a kind of a magical sense, and that's an interesting point. That this thing, that may be the way we can get to these artists. It is somehow through the magical. In fact, that is going to be the way.
Well, I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yes.
No, but it's the magic of science.
No,
The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of true art and science. Who said that?
That's pretty common
Do
knowledge.
you know who
but
said that? If true, because I got it off Wikipedia.
Oh, yes, of course.
Albert Einstein.
That's what I would have guessed.
He said all those kinds of things.
And he's
Or
not
didn't
a
he?
bad enough, he's not a bad musician. Well,
yeah.
I don't know if got scientists to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, play well enough to
But-
fit in with.
So
The mysterious, or what you would put, the magical, is a very big
that's what it is,
thing.
because when I was young, when I was 18 and doing art, if you look at my old paintings, they were very much influenced by the surrealists.
And that made me very happy. It's my favorite form.
Yeah, well, it's metaphorical, it's
And
very
it's mostly
poetic.
everybody's
and
not
it's-
favorite form.
Yeah, it's a little dark. I'm sorry.
Yeah, something, conscious.
Yeah.
Well, that's what it's about.
Archetypal. I actually believe in archetypes, although I may interpret them differently than other people. I think they represent the wiring diagram.
In art,
Oh, that, what they say that again?
I think what people, so-called archetypes, represent the genetically evolved structure of our nervous system.
you bet,
That's a
you
very
bet.
interesting idea.
You bet.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a genetic determinist. I think there is something called human nature. I think it's evolved because we're social animals.
But that's really interesting. So you
I
don't have,
like surrealism too.
But it was that sense of mystery
Yeah.
that attracted me, and this sense of questioning the greatest mysteries in the universe. I mean, that's what excites me. And all of a sudden, I read this book about quantum physics, and it talks about the quantum leap, which is a discontinuous leap through space and time, which means that you look at an electron, when an electron jumps from one ring in the atom, the next ring, it goes through space, but it doesn't travel, it's not in between the space, it's either in this ring or this one, so it goes from here to here without going in between.
Not only that, it can also be in both places at once.
Does that sound like surrealism, or does that sound like science, what you think of as
okay,
science?
the difference with surrealism is when they wrote, this is not how they wrote.
You're talking about Andre Breton and
Yeah, they wrote in a different kind of way. It was not like a dialogue or discussion. And my love of the surrealist, although it's the poets,
they were all poets,
but the
yeah.
poets were cool because of the sound of it. Because they were writing in French.
I
think of Crystal Sorrow.
Well, that's Dada.
Well, Dada's closer related.
but that's like a child of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's where it was born in Dada, you know.
And we don't have that anymore. And Dada is not unintellectual,
No.
but it's also into some sort of nonsense, but personal. But nonsense meaning nonsense, you know? Because I don't want to talk too much about my trip. With my trip, there's a lot of stuff that's beyond words. And when you're creating art, it is essentially beyond words.
Oh, you know, sure. You're talking about experience.
Well, you're just doing something else. Even if you're using words, that's not only what it's about. You know?
True. Well, when you're using words, it depends on how you use them, but if you use them poetically, you create poetic metaphors, then you're pushing to infinity. I mean, that's the whole idea of a metaphor, is to bridge infinity to
And we
concrete.
live here in a world in which they don't even understand what metaphor is. In this country, it's very hard to even get anybody to.
A lot of people think a metaphor is a lie.
If they think of it
If
at
they
all.
think about it all right, if they can tell a difference.
Because
similar.
mostly, we have basically what passes for art, which is film or whatever, what passes for public art. What you see is what you get. There is no subtext. There is
No,
no bottom. There is no behind. There is this.
Right.
And that's not what I'm particularly interested in.
Well,
And I know
What-
it's not what you're interested
no, but what's interesting about that area, like Jeff Koons, are you familiar with Jeff Koons? You know, he sits completely over on that, because his stuff is mundane. There's no idea at all. It's all
Well, it's about
about,
making money.
that may be the idea, but yeah. and-
It is, but
yeah.
the starving artist thing is not happening anymore.
But his work is, the ideas are completely mundane. He just designs a system. He designs a system. He designs this piece, and then someone else has all the craftsmanship. I mean, so there's like no craftsmanship in his work. I mean, from him.
Well, there's a lot of that happening now. On the other hand, think about the Renaissance studios. Do you think those guys did? No, they didn't.
Yeah.
No, they didn't.
But somebody else used to do that years ago. Holder, I think, set stuff up.
Well, if you could afford it, why not?
But somebody else used to do that.
Because as I think you said, it's the idea. Do you know what I mean? That's paramount, and then it's the rest of the guys who put together the cars. And they're craftsmen.
Right.
Oh, here's another thing, by the way. Until Wikipedia. Until the 17th century, art referred to any skill or mastery and wasn't differentiated from crafts or sciences. Modern society makes the differentiation.
Well, that's a romantic
The
notion.
fine art, like first of all, that there are the fine arts.
But that I think was a very romantic notion. The German word for physician is arts.
Right, right.
Medicine, arts, architectural, you know, license law, he was an artist, art as long as we don't have it. All those women, engineers. Leonardo.
Well, they knew, but he knew how to do everything.
Yeah, but I mean, other people.
That's why he was a Renaissance
But he wasn't the
man.
only one.
But that's why you don't call him like men of other time, you call him Renaissance.
That's right.
But, you know,
None of us laughed, unfortunately.
but I think what we've gotten into these days is these narrow columns of knowledge, so everything is separate. Everything is, you know, separate. And what we're all looking for is some kind of community. And I know what Patricia works with a lot is this meets that. You know, art meets fashion, or science meets art, or something meets something else.
Big and small.
Big and small, because why not?
Yeah. Well, that's where creativity is when you fuse two things that are similar and you can somehow hook them together. Ideas in the creative process, you take two things that are dissimilar that no one can see any connection with, and you put them together and you create something. It's like, oh wow, you know.
Remember that TV series, Connections? It was a British series. It was basically going through history, looking at rather obscure, that didn't put any connections between certain historical things that happened and something's being done. It was very comfortable.
Try to the 80s, right?
Well, you know, I'm going to lose track of time.
Track of I have no sense of time.
I've always talked about this. It was something happened a couple of years ago, and I look back and it was 15 or 20.
Well, there's a reason for that, you know. Aging.
Yes. Remember it's
Dealing
clear.
with that all the time. It's like, I can't believe, wasn't I semi-hippie not so long ago? No.
No, it wasn't that long. It was that long ago. We had I haven't had hair before. I was in two plays. Not allowed to get a haircut.
Oh, what were you in?
You probably never heard of it. Well, the last one actually was, the Velveteen Rabbit.
Oh, okay.
Played the last one. The one before that.
The Arts.
Little piece.
The Arts.
The Arts. The other one was a little piece of heaven. And I just got, you know, sort of enjoying having long hair while I was still growing.
Why not? Why not? Well, both of you actually have long hair. I like long hair.
Well,
I thought that was a good look.
You're a hippie.
I still have the hint of that, which is why I'm so appalled by what's going on in this particular century so far.
And I grew up kind of at the tail end of it. I have an older sister that's 60, I'm 57, she's 63. And so she was exposed to me to Hendrix and the Beatles and all that stuff when I was tiny, and I just like traveled with the Stones, and I got extremely romantic.
It was very romantic. It was very romantic. I wish I saw any of that now. That seemed romantic. The world was a different place, and the same shit was going on. I mean, they were still all the same fighting and all the same corruption, yeah. But they were the young people, or at least a segment of the young people, believed that they could change the world. And maybe that's very important.
Well, they were being killed off, so that's
one of the reasons why they wanted
survival.
Well, they're getting killed off in other countries. I mean, look at what's happening in Egypt. Okay, they do what they were doing. It's not good. Well, I didn't think it was good at the beginning.
They're going to take over Indonesia, the whole world.
Anyway, so tell me how you came to the polyaesthetic fabric. Very catchy title.
Not. Did you catch
I
that?
got that.
Yeah.
Well, we changed it to polyaesthetic experience.
That's much
Now, that's
better,
not,
right?
well, one of those words, but no, anyway, the polyaesthetics of experience. Well, the only way I would like the polyaesthetics lab to happen at all is, am I getting too much opinion?
No. We want your opinion.
Is if it was canned.
If it was what?
Am.
Have. Polycyclic. Have. Polycyclic.
Polytech mapping.
Yeah.
Ham. Well, because
Well,
at
we
least
would think
there's
about-
some mystery in that. You
Yeah,
understand?
we did something for the A that wasn't one
Talk
poly.
about poly.
Yeah, poly, aesthetic, mapping.
Well, we said the
Is that
poly-
wrong? Oh, shoot.
I think the
Map.
aesthetic was one word. Could be PAP, you know? Depending on how you pocket it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the self-doubting moments.
Oh.
Well, I was writing that. but
All the
I-
aesthetics, I think is one word.
No,
That's what it is.
because they're not going to mean anything to most people.
Well, that's an interesting one. We want people, are we really reaching for people who will be?
Okay, so here's, so I want to, and this is problematic for Mark, okay? So this was my first question. What are the goals? Before you even tell me what it is, I wanted to know what the goals of the team are and what kind of audience you're after.
The goal of, okay, see, there's going to be everybody's got their own personal
I'm
thing
not
that they
interested,
want.
I'm interested in the goals of the team.
I think it's fragmented to somewhat. What do you
Well,
think?
certainly our people.
Okay, my hearing, for my antennae being out, my hearing is that that's the case in a lot of places. But I can tell you that's because you have too much discussion.
Oh,
Okay, that's, when you just keep talking, 30 hours of video discussion.
But we had a great time.
No, but that's cool. But
and
that's,
we also changed our direction. I think originally people were going to do my science fiction play. And we gradually moved over to doing the politics after 20 hours and several bottles of wine over several weeks. So I think we accomplished something. We're trying to converge.
okay, so tell me the second answer. What kind of audience? So the first part is fragmented.
Okay.
And the second part is what kind of audience?
I think the audience is in this is fragmented as well. I mean, as far as people in the group, I think about Arthur's totally different. Of course, he's got a totally different view on everything. But the audience is going to have to be intelligent.
Educated.
Educated and intelligent audience.
People understand the art.
This is about aesthetics. This is philosophical.
And don't you want to reach more people?
Yes.
Well, then you have to assume that people could become interested in art if they make, that's what Bronowski did. That's what all these guys did who made television. They found a way to take something which could be, yes, and they made it, and Bronowski didn't like talk down or anything. And what's his name, the guy who went in the spaceship and landed in his backyard? Was also what was his name?
Damn good. The new season is over.
No, I just can't get them.
I'm talking about my favorite word.
No, I'm talking about the guy, he's also that, who did TV, who made science accessible. I don't mean Mr. Wizard, yeah. I have the first name.
Yeah.
But anyway, you know what? There are people who know how to do that. Kenneth Clark. I mean, there are guys who did.
That's what we want you to do.
Okay. They want me to do. But if you want me, then you also have to take what I'm interested in, which is accessibility. I'm not, when I started out life being a person, that we're a local line, I became this other person because I decided that communication is about communicating with people. Like when people say to me, what country are you from? That makes a really good anecdote, okay? But not cool. That means that they stopped listening to me at some point because they couldn't get it, They couldn't get it.
But it's New York. It's 50% of people in Manhattan are foreign born. So the other question isn't.
Well, in New York, York is really another place. And you know, when I hear Tulsa, Oklahoma, somebody is from Tulsa.
Tulsa, Oklahoma, darling.
And ends up traveling around the world
Yeah,
instead of
you
being in
know
a
what,
Steinbeck,
well,
in a Steinbeck movie.
Exactly. I
You
just,
know?
yeah, we're gonna move to Bakersfield. I heard it's
But
a
see,
good job.
but see, here's the thing. The thing is that I have that, you know, that Steinberg, I have no idea where it is now, but I have that big poster of the vision of America. The New Yorker's vision of America with tattoos and this and Chicago. And that's it,
Yeah.
you know. And then, you know, you have Europe.
Well, I think California's
Oh, California has had, you know, they only invented the whole Asian Pacific Rim while I'm living here. Excuse me. There was no Pacific Rim. They had no connection to the border, which is at most an hour away, you know. They had no idea, they had no interest. They had no interest in the rest of the country, and they certainly weren't interested in anything that was out there except for Hawaii, maybe. So, you know, this is a very parochial kind of world in many ways in which we live. But New York is, although New York now is a whole other place, and the place that so what I'm saying is you learn, in New York, first of all, you learn how to live with a lot of different kinds of people. Here you do not. Here you drive, you go like this and you drive into your garage. I lived 10.5 years where I just moved from. If we put a lineup of my neighbors on the block, I would not be able to identify the ones that lived on my block. Right? On my street. They did not even meet my eyes who lived that far away. They drove their car in, and that's the way a lot of people live. Okay? And so there's this whole kind of insularity. And this is supposed to be, you know, the coast and Commonwealth nuts and, you know,
That's LA.
I thought it was the South.
Venice Beach.
Anyway, I'm interested in getting people who otherwise might not know about stuff to know about stuff, whether it's old ladies or whether it's science and because here, I could, science, when you say science to me, the only class I ever failed was physical science, because I just didn't do the reading, because I didn't care. I just didn't care. And I got kind of into biology at some point because I got interested in marine biology, you know, but I wouldn't say as a biologist, and I wrote about plants for years and zoos, but it was like my adventures with plants, with native plants.
But you're
it's always
gathering
the
data.
personal,
You're
but
gathering
it's
data.
always, I'm looking for the stories. What's the story? You know, what's the story? And that's what makes theory. You know, where's the story here? So to me, there's a story in your group assembly. You know, there's the story of what I was thinking of was a question. Remember, I know nothing. But I'm feeling like I want to tell you this before I see what you do. I did not mean to do this, so if this is annoying to you.
No, it's very, very illuminating.
Okay, so.
Because I think we agree with you. We need to figure something out.
Somewhat, because you can't be spending 30 hours discussing and go fragmented. When I said I did workshops to do my shows. Okay, I did 2 workshops. Each of them was 3 hours long. Okay, you had a bathroom break of maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Okay, I work like this. I work through meditation, by the way. I make everybody close their eyes in the beginning. And I've done this with very large groups and hundreds, okay, also. People are very uptight about closing their eyes, and you see it while but you close your eyes, and I talk in my yoga teacher. And I get people to go out of their heads, so that when they sit down and write, based on the suggestion that I give, they are writing from here as opposed to from here. I'm not getting somebody like your story. I mean, you would be really easy. Well, actually, you probably would be pretty easy to get story down. You already write a story, but I don't know whether it's true for everybody. I work very much non-verbally. In other words, when I work with people, when I want to put a script together with people, and I love collaborating. I started out like a lyricist, so I always collaborated with somebody. Theater is a collaborative art. I love that. I've done 2 of my books I did with other people who were the real informants. You know, they were the ones who knew more than I did. But it's like about making something happen relatively fast. And not talking about it too much. Anyway, so, and reaching people, I mean, don't you want people to believe, if you want to just reach your own kind of people, that's also possible. You know, which is also people who are, you know, interested in art and science and pretty,
I think we're being kind of realistic. Possibly if we, you know, word of mouth gets around, we'll attract other people.
because they'll think, oh, this is a cool thing.
Arthur's different.
As opposed to, this is an interesting thing. You know, oh, this is interesting. This is a cool thing. If you're going to make theater, you need something juicy. Didactic is not juicy. That doesn't mean that it can't use themes. You know.
I want the juice to see.
Well, why not? And you know, I'm not one of those people who thinks all education has to be, you know, tarted up so that it, you know, looks like Sesame Street. Life was the right I was always a freelancer, which is why I'm not money. You know, that doesn't necessarily have to be the way you go with it. Although I also totally believe in the power of music and song also to deliver little messages. I mean, well into, we'd already done a number of performances and I wrote a theme song for our show so that people could get up and sing along with the words on the PowerPoint, okay, while they were already standing and applauding, okay? So that we had a song, so we were defining something. So there are things that you could do. I mean, one of the things that happened when we got into the 60s is we got out of the folk scene, which was sing-along. You know, when people got together and sang. And there's something very powerful in the way about that, and communal, you know, which is different from, you know, just kind of standing on the dance floor and jumping up and down, where you're actually all alone, even though you're surrounded by
Yeah, this computer is very old, and
very small print.
yeah, the nice thing about it is I can
expand it
around. I mean,
I've seen it.
let's talk about math in general first. You know, math for minute. And so what we're interested in this map is a way to, it's a lens to look at all aesthetics, any kind of aesthetic experience. Now, let me back up and talk about what we mean by aesthetics. Aesthetics is something historically that's changed. You mentioned it a while ago about how aesthetics changed, you know, at the turn of the century, and it changed radically. It used to mean beauty, that was it, yeah. But today, it boils down to anything that evokes emotion, whether it's positive or negative. Because, I mean, modern art, you know, look at Dada, for instance. I mean, you know, look at the aesthetics of Dada. I mean, it horrified lots of people. And other people were, you know.
But so did Impressionism.
Sure. So.
Which now we think, which sometimes I think is too pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. So this, aesthetics is an emotional response. And it can be for anything. It can be a business plan for a karaoke bar.
Oh, I think that evokes much more
Aesthetics.
as, you know, an emotional response than most of what we know are.
Yeah, I'm not gonna argue with you. Really what this system, after you go through this system, you're gonna realize that what you already know, that every aesthetic experience has facets of both art and science. Okay. Your
No, I'm
expression.
saying,
Okay. So I'm trying to read your face there, like what you were
I was thinking.
Okay. So maybe that was a new idea to you, and I
Yeah,
assumed it
I
wasn't.
wasn't sure. Well, no, I'm not necessarily sure, because as I told you, I am one of those other people.
You might be like ours, and think there's no difference between art and science.
There's no difference. Oh, but I do think there's.
That's helpful. That's very helpful.
That's why we took 30 hours of discussion. Well,
No,
that's exactly.
you want to know why you took 30 hours of discussion? Because this is what I learned as a former hippie, semi-hippie. I was into not having leaders. I was into the leaderless thing and having, you know, the group determine things. And I learned the hard way years ago that way lies matters. Because somebody at some point has to say, okay, let's do it this way.
And that's kind of what I kind of stepped up in the
Because
group.
because then you don't do it in a fascistic kind of way. Although maybe if you ask some of the people I work with, they disagree with that. But, you know, you say, okay, this is the way we're going to do it. And then afterwards, when you got a product, you know, the first draft of a product, then you open it up to, you know, to...
No, I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
those meetings were fun, but
They don't go
they weren't
anywhere.
terribly productive.
They didn't go.
One thing
This is for you to keep.
One thing I've liked about Patricia's meetings is that she runs it on shift. She gets them done.
Well, there was, I thought Darwin's,
He gave it all.
Darwin gave a talk and he basically said, okay,
About
you
how
don't
you're
go.
supposed to, I thought, oh, isn't that sweet? How we're supposed to talk together.
Well-
How we're supposed to do this.
Yeah. Did you watch that video?
I watched 2 minutes or less. I watched enough to see, oh.
So you didn't see Darwin's thing?
No, I can't do this.
Okay, that's all right.
And when you said that, that
so.
gave me permission, because I said to Patricia, I didn't get back to her real fast. So she, you know, first of all, we were in the middle of the move. And, you know, I was trying to decide whether I was going to hang myself or not. And so when she wrote me again and she said, did you get this? Please confirm. Because I hadn't decided how to tell her that I was probably not the right person. Okay? And because of exactly this thing, I don't want to sit and listen to discussions on how to discuss. You know, I know how you can get a group of people to reach some kind of consensus. And what I was thinking about is that, you know, the whole issue, and she mentioned this in the NEA thing that she just said, you know, about language. It's like, how do you find, it's not that you guys didn't find a common language. I think you found language. But then you have to find the structure to a meeting so that the end of the meeting had, you know, it's like that's what you do when you teach. You know, at the end of, what is the goal, what is the point of the class here? And at the end of the class, we are going to
You only have so much time to
accomplish
do the
these
class.
things. That's right, and it's, you know,
This was Darwin's point, was you don't go into the meeting without an agenda. You have an agenda right up front, you let everybody know what the agenda is, you got so much time to finish the agenda.
see, that's interesting. That's the more scientific way. I have everything, I have things to the minute. You know, 10 minutes this.
That's not
to
scientific.
10:45. No, however, I feel that if, and I would never tell anybody what it was. And I would never tell anybody what the agenda is in case I changed my mind somewhere in the middle, and I think something else more interesting came up. And that's what I want to deal with. You know what I mean? And so I don't want to tell you what we're going to do necessarily, but I will tell you that at the end of the thing, we will have covered, you know, these several things, and you will all have something. You know, if I'm going to do a writing thing, at the end, everybody will have written certain pieces, some of which are going to be very, very cool. And maybe things that, you know, that you would never know, that you would write. And there could be the beginnings of, when I put together these particular shows, it was like quilting. I laid out the different, because what I said is, you have to send me whatever I ask for within 3 days that you wrote here by email, so that I can work with it, you know, and I'm not going to take emails with me like this. And then I laid them all out on my drawing bed, and I would work like that, and quilt it.
Do you think that you can be scientific?
Well, that is, as you say, I mean, it's not like I don't have a system. I do have a system, but I also want the freedom to change that system. And if you disclose the system to everybody, then maybe you can't do that as well. I mean, that's just my way. I'm not saying that's the only way. But the goal is, I assume, to get your show on the road.
Yeah, absolutely.
And maybe not take 18 months.
I agree.
18 months is
I think
very long.
I think
I
of the
mean,
person.
after
I think of the
babies.
person we need.
Yeah, I think.
I'm sorry we didn't know you earlier. We didn't have fewer hours of discussion.
No, because when I looked at it, I thought, I can't see how they're going to do this like this. I've had a lot of experience working with different ways of working, which is how I came to this. I really did not want to leave. I love teamwork. I love partnering. But then I don't see that as leading. I see that people do what they do. And I remember, this just brings me back, and I know this was the 80s, or like the late 70s when I came here. And there was all this very political stuff, and this very booga kind of, affirmations of and it's like, I'm from New York. I mean, I was into yoga, but it's not really what yoga is about. And we're all talking this kind of weird, esoteric. And you think you get something for nothing. That's what it's about. Circle go. You get something for nothing. You don't have to put the energy in. You know, it's like if you put in $10, you'll get it back 100-fold. So people are putting in money like this, they're going to get it back 100-fold, as opposed to you have to do something, maybe, you know. And so I got involved with this I hadn't heard about this in a long time, this musician guy. And we were putting something together called the Arts and Healing. And it was a brilliant idea. And we put together this, and people started coming, scientists and musicians and artists, and we had this big group, and we had this guy facilitating who ran this humanistic studies university. He was a surfer. He didn't even have a degree in anything. And so we had these meetings, and it was so I said, okay, the way we should do this is everybody on the board, okay, everybody, we had a financial wizard, we had the science guy who was on the cusp of a cancer, and we had Butch and me, and I can't remember who else. And I said, okay, everybody on the board, identify what it is you want to do. Say what you want to do, So everybody said what they wanted to do. And then what happened? Because we weren't going to have a meeting, we were going to have this consulting. So what happened is everybody said what they wanted to do, but what happened? They didn't do it. They didn't do it. And so at one point, I totally dropped out. And then everybody's going. And then we ended up doing this show. This is not what I had in mind. I wanted to do it. And we had like 100 people on the stage. Everybody wanted to participate. I dropped out. I mean, I'm not saying it was my dropping out, but ultimately, of course, they folded. We did these, we did a couple of really fabulous things before. and then the thing folded, and I was very, very impressed.